Hey everybody, it's Judy Clock, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, coming to you from Middletown, Virginia. It is Thursday, January 8th. I don't even know what day it is. And I'm coming to you tonight for another tutorial featuring a card template. I'm going to kind of change things up in the new year and kind of restructure how I do my videos. And in saying that, I'm also going to I've created, and you'll have access to it once you subscribe. I've created a library that will host all the measurements for the cards that I do each week. And you can get that through a subscription to my email service. Once you sign up, you'll have access to the library. It is just for email subscribers. So make sure that you are on it. And if you're already a subscriber, just go ahead and fill out the link and it will grant you access. You won't be on the list twice. You'll still only be on the list once. This will just tag you so that I know that you have access to this card inspiration template library. All right, let's go ahead and let me show you what we're going to be working on today, and we'll get started. Here we go. So we're going to be working with what I call the off-center template. And this is a sheet that will be available in the Inspiration Library. It has the measurements for the card base and the layers on the front in both imperial and metric. And I'm going to show you just how to make this, and then I'm going to show you a couple of samples that I made using other stamp sets. So for our sample, we are going to use the Woolly Friends sample. And where did my sample card just go? Here it is. It was hiding. So this is what we're going to make today. I love this stamp set. This is the stamp set that I'll be using for my optional class at Creativity in Bloom. But how fun is that? And with Easter coming up, I think this is also going to be a great little set to use with some Easter wishes too. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So let me move that off to the side. For our card base, we have Lemon Lolly. I'm using Lemon Lolly. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. All of this information will also be on the corresponding blog post, but the measurements will be in the card template library. All right, so then we've got a piece of basic white for the inside. This is 5.25 by 4. I'm going to leave this as is. I'm not going to write or stamp anything on this inside piece because I need to do a couple of thinking of you cards. So I'm just going to leave this blank so I have more room to write. I've got some friends that are just going through a bit of a rough time already. So we're just going to kind of send them a little bit of encouragement, kind of put a little paper hug out there. Then I've got a piece of basic white. This is 5.25 by 4. We're going to make our own background on this using the stamp from the Woolly Friends stamp set. I've got a piece of our designer series paper. This is the new Mixed Up Patterns designer series paper. Just came out on the 6th. This is 1 inch by 4 inches. Might be like 1 1/3. I measured with my heart. And then I've got a piece of soft sea foam that is 2.25 by 2.5. And then we've got a piece of basic white that is 2 by 2.25. And I've just got a scrap here to stamp the sheep's head and punch out. So that's just a scrap of basic white that I had laying around. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me kind of move this stuff off to the side for right now. Right now we're going to work on our background piece for the front. So in the Woolly Friends stamp set, there is this one stamp. It's a solid stamp. This actually fills in the stamped sheep image if you so desire. And you'll notice I've put an arrow on that because when you stamp, let's just try this. When you stamp this, I'm going to stamp this here just so you can see on my work surface. Having that arrow there will help you line up this so that you can get it all lined up, stamp it, and you filled in that sheep set. So that arrow really helps. So before you do that, once you decide where it is, and I put that arrow on the part of the stamp that is actually on the block, not on the part that I'm going to, stamp with, because I didn't want it to transfer to my stamped image or to eventually rub off. So anyway, that was just why I've done that. But for this particular exercise, it won't matter. I'm just going to stamp this, ink this up, and I'm going to stamp this on my card front. I'm going to just stamp it about 3 times. You'll notice I'm stamping some on and some off. That's kind of what I was hoping for. And I'm going to clean that off, close this one up, because you know me, if I don't close up my ink pads, I make a very big mess. All right, now I've got the soft sea foam here. Same thing, we're going to go and just stamp this. Some of them on, some of them off. Trying to get some good stamps. I'm going to get some good images there. Okay, and then we're going to come in with our lemon lolly. Okay, so we're going to bring in our lemon lolly stamp set. All right. Stamp that there. Gonna put this down. I'm not getting a good clean stamp there. Maybe we'll put one there. I've got a couple little extra spots here. Put that there, and maybe, I don't know, maybe one more there. All right. That's good. I'm not going to worry too much down here because that's going to be covered by our DSP. So I'm not too worried about that. All right. Let's go ahead and let me clean this off. I think we're done with this, but you never know. All right. Before we get everything all set up, let's go ahead and finish stamping. On here, I'm going to stamp the sheep's body, and I'm doing the standing sheep. This one I call the standing sheep because he's got all 4 feet on the ground, and then we have our jumping sheep, and he's got like 2 feet on the left and 2 feet on the right, so it looks like he's jumping. And then we're going to come in here with our soft sea foam again, and this is actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and stamp the head, and that we're going to stamp on our scrap of paper. All right, so we can punch that out. All right, now we can close up that. Okay, let's get rid of that. And then we're going to come over here, and we're going to stamp some grass. It's a little stamp that looks like grass in there. And we are just going to stamp this along the bottom, and I'm using our soft sea foam. Okay. Then I do have over here my Smoky Slate Light Stamp and Blend, and I'm just going to use this to color in his legs or her legs. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl sheep. And then I'm just going to kind of outline some of these little like curly Q sheep things, both on the sheep and also on the hair, like the top of the head. Okay, that just adds a little definition to it. All right, we're almost ready. Let's punch out the head. I'm going to come in here. Now, you know that with our punches, you use them upside down so that you can see, or at least when it's not like a circle or a basic shape, but when it's something where you stamped and you want to cut that stamp, punch that stamped image, I always do it upside down. All right. That's good. Let's get rid of this. Let's move our stuff out of our way. Let's try to keep our workspace a little neat. All right, let's go ahead and put this together. We're going to add our stamped background piece to our card front. So again, this was really easy. This is one of my favorite layouts, just because it's pretty easy. It looks lovely, and you can use it for really a variety of stamp sets, as you will see in a moment. I'm going to add this. All right, now let's layer up our sheep on our, oh, you know what, one thing I wanted to do? I'm going to go ahead and add that. First, I'm going to put his head on, and I'm going to put it at a little angle, a little jaunty angle right there. And it's okay if it sticks off my paper. That's perfectly fine. But we have this cute little butterfly, and I'm going to add him. I forgot I wanted to add a butterfly because everybody needs a friend, right? Everybody has to have a little friend. right, we just got our little butterfly there. All right. And I always say stamp then stick, because if you make a mistake, you can flip it over and start again. And we're going to layer this up on our soft sea foam. Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it to make sure it's right. That looks pretty good. I'm going to come in here with some Stampin' Dimensionals. You'll notice I'm using the ends. Don't be afraid to use these ends. They're all good. That all works. Maybe I'll put just one more in the middle. You don't want your layer to sag in the middle. Take these off. Maybe. This is always the most nerve-wracking part, is getting these silly little covers off. And I swear they sprout wings and fly all over the house. And that is our card. So we went from our template, right, with our card base, our layer, another little layer, and these two layers. And we went from that to that. So that was one card. Here's another one. You'll notice, I don't know if you can see, I've embossed this piece of white. I've changed my square to a circle, and I've used a punched piece. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law's pup passed, so I wanted to send a little card for him. So I made a special card to send to Dave in remembrance of Annie. Then my best friend lost her little guy, Sherlock Bones, just passed. He was 14. He was my little boyfriend. I love that little dog. And so I wanted to send a card to her. So again, I just used a piece of designer series paper. I added a little wink of Stella. This is just slightly larger than my other pieces. These are 2 1/4 by 2 1/2. This is 2 3/4 by 2 1/2. I needed to make it just a little bit larger to fit that image on there. So that's just another alternative. Here's another one. I don't know if you could see, this top half is embossed and this bottom half isn't. So I only embossed half of my cardstock, and then I turned this so that it went the long way, because my image required it to be the 2 1/2 this way and the 2 1/4 this way, so I could fit that stamped image on there. This is straight up. Now here I've embossed the background, but instead of using cardstock, I had a piece of wide ribbon. This was 1-inch ribbon. So I used the ribbon instead of the cardstock. And then here, again, I've used my background paper and I've embossed this piece. So there are lots of ways you could use this one template to come up with all different variations on this same theme. So I hope you like it. I hope this gives you some ideas as to how you can use a template and just change one little element of it and just get a whole new look to it. But again, one of my favorite templates. I hope you'll try it. I will leave the link in the video description so that if you want, you can go ahead and sign up and get access to the library that will give you the complete, PDF with the measurements. The measurements are both in imperial and metric to help our friends that are non-US based. If they choose to make this template, they can. So I'll have pictures of all of these, as well as a link to the template on my blog post. And that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in. I greatly appreciate your support. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.